The crisis reached its breaking point when a group of radical Zephyrians decided to act on their fears. Commander Thexfer commanded a small military escort that had arrived with the main fleet. Unlike the scientists and diplomats, he was trained. "For war, we cannot wait any longer," he told his officers. "These predators will destroy us all if we give them the chance." His plan was simple and terrible. He would attack Earth's defense stations and major cities before the humans could strike first. In his mind, it was self-defense. Thexfer did not. Tell Commander Velmuth about his plan. He knew the old commander would try to stop him. Instead, he waited until the main fleet was distracted with another diplomatic meeting. On Earth, Admiral Clark was preparing for what he hoped would be a breakthrough. Dr. Rodriguez had convinced him to try a new approach. Instead of trying to seem harmless, they would show the aliens how human protective instincts worked. "We'll bring families aboard," she explained. "Show them human parents with children. Let them see that our aggressive nature is also protective." Clark agreed. "If they see us protecting our young, maybe they'll understand we're not just killers." But as the human transport ships moved toward the meeting point, Thexfer S-attack ships moved toward Earth. The first sign of trouble came from Captain Miranda Stone on the Defiance. Her sensors picked up the approaching enemy ships. "Admiral," she reported urgently, "we have incoming hostiles. 6 alien warships moving fast toward Earth." Clark felt his blood turn cold. "Are they targeting our civilians?" "Yes, sir. They're heading straight for Luna Station and the orbital cities." In that moment, Admiral Clark made a decision that would change everything. He could have ordered his ships to retreat and form defensive line around Earth. Instead, he did something that shocked everyone. "All ships," he broadcast, "protect the Zephyrian civilians. Do not let them get caught in this crossfire." On the main Zephyrian fleet, Commander Velmuth was horrified when he learned about Thexfer S-attack. "Stop him," he ordered his ships. "We must stop this madness." But Thexfer's ships were faster and had a head start. The main Zephyrian fleet was caught between trying to stop the attack and protecting their own civilian vessels. The battle began near Luna Station. Thexfer's ships opened fire on the human defensive platforms. The weapons were energy-based, and very powerful Captain Julie Anderson led the squadron that responded first. She commanded 5 human warships that had been patrolling near the moon. "All ships, engage the hostiles," she ordered. "But watch for civilian vessels. Don't let any of them get hurt." The human ships moved with precise coordination. They had trained for this kind of fight their entire careers. Their ships were built for war, crewed by warriors and armed with weapons designed by a species that had been fighting for millions of years. The difference was immediate and shocking. Thexfer's ships had superior energy weapons, but the humans had superior tactics. The human ships moved like a pack of wolves, coordinating their attacks and covering each other's weaknesses. Within minutes, 2 of the alien attack ships were disabled. The others found themselves completely outmaneuvered. But the real shock came when a Zephyrian civilian transport got caught in the crossfire. One of Thexfer's ships, damaged and spinning out of control, was about to crash into the helpless vessel. Major Chris Taylor commanded a squad of human Marines aboard a fast attack ship. Without hesitation, he flew his ship directly into the path of the falling wreckage. "Sir," his pilot shouted, "we'll be crushed." "Better us than them," Chris replied calmly. Chris's ship took the full impact of the alien wreckage, saving the civilian transport. His ship was destroyed, but emergency pods launched just in time. The Marine squad survived. Barely. Commander Velmuth watched this happen and could not believe his eyes. The humans had sacrificed their own ship to save Zephyrian civilians. Predators had risked their lives to protect prey. The battle ended quickly after that. Vexver's remaining ships surrendered when they realized they were completely outclassed. The humans could have destroyed them all, but instead they accepted the surrender and offered medical aid. In the aftermath, representatives from both fleets met on Luna Station. The meeting was very different from their first encounter. Commander Velmoth looked at the human officers with new understanding. "You saved our civilians," he said quietly. Admiral Clark nodded. "Of course we did. That's what allies do." "But we are not allies," Velmoth said, confused. "My people were attacking yours." "Vexver was attacking us," Clark corrected. "Your people were trying to stop him." "That makes you our allies." Dr. Rodriguez stepped forward with young Kivara, the Zephyrian officer who had been studying human. "Families. Commander," Kivara said excitedly. "I understand now. Human predatory behavior has two sides. They hunt threats, but they also protect what they care about." She showed him recordings from the battle. Human ships risking themselves to save Zephyrian civilians. Human Marines sacrificing their safety for alien children. Their aggression can be directed, she continued. They choose what to fight and what to protect. Velmoth watched the recordings again and again. Slowly, a new picture formed in his mind. These humans were not mindless killers. They were warriors who chose their battles. Dr. Rodriguez added her research. Human evolution required cooperation to survive. Yes, we're competitive, but we're also protective. We fight hardest when we're defending something we care about. Over the following days, more meetings took place. Both sides shared their history and their fears. The humans learned that the Zephyrian Confederation had existed in peace for thousands of years. The aliens learned that humans had struggled to overcome their own violent nature. "We still fight," admitted General Miller. "But now we try to fight for good reasons. To protect the innocent, to defend the weak, to stop those who would cause harm." The breakthrough came when young Kivara made a proposal that surprised everyone. "What if," she said carefully, "the Confederation needed protectors?" The room fell. Silent. Velmoth looked shocked. "Protectors? Our civilization is peaceful," Kivara explained. "But peace only works when everyone chooses peace. What happens when we meet beings who choose violence?" She gestured toward the humans. "These predators chose to protect us instead of hurt us. Maybe that is what evolution was preparing for. Maybe prey species need predator allies." The idea was revolutionary. For the first time, the Zephyrians began to see human aggression as potentially useful instead of just frightening. Dr. Chun added scientific support. In nature, some species form protective relationships. Small fish swim with sharks for protection. Perhaps our species could have a similar arrangement. The negotiations took weeks, but eventually led to the Terra-Zephyrian Accords. The agreement was unique in galactic history. Humans would serve as protectors for the Confederation in exchange for technology and resources. The final signing ceremony took place on a neutral space station. Commander Velmoth signed for the aliens. Admiral Clark signed for humanity. "This is either the beginning of a beautiful friendship," Clark said, "or the strangest partnership in the galaxy." Velmoth managed what might have been a smile, perhaps both. As the ceremony ended, Velmoth found himself watching a group of human and Zephyrian children playing together in the station's garden. The young ones had adapted quickly to each other's presence. A human child was teaching an alien child how to play a competitive game. The alien child was teaching the human child how to share resources fairly. "Evolution's greatest trick," Dr. Rodriguez said, joining him at the window. "What?" Velmoth asked. "Teaching predators that the best way to survive is to have something worth protecting." Velmoth nodded slowly. These humans had indeed learned to be more than just hunters. They had become guardians. In the months that followed, human ships began patrolling Confederation space. When pirates or hostile aliens threatened peaceful worlds, human warships responded. The galaxy's most successful predators had become its most dedicated protectors. The relationship was not without problems. Some humans still struggled with their competitive nature. Some aliens still feared human aggression. But both sides were learning. Commander Velmoth, now serving as the first Zephyrian ambassador to Earth, often reflected on the strange turn of events. His people had set out to rescue what they thought were fellow prey animals. Instead, they had found the protectors they never knew they needed. The universe was vast and often dangerous. But for the first time in their history, the peaceful species of the Confederation could sleep safely. They were guarded by beings who had evolved to be the perfect predators, and who had chosen to use that skill to protect instead of destroy. It was, as Admiral Clark had predicted, both the beginning of a beautiful friendship and the strangest partnership in the galaxy. The crisis deepened over the next week. Commander Velmoth received urgent messages from the Zephyrian homeworlds every few hours. The news about predator intelligence was spreading panic across their entire civilization. The Council is demanding answers, his communication officer reported. They want to know if these humans plan to invade our territory. Velmoth looked tired. He had not slept well since meeting the humans. What should I tell them? The truth, said Elder Zarnith, that we don't know what they want. But the truth was not enough for the frightened populations back home. Some Zephyrian colonies were already building new defense systems. Others were asking for military protection. On Earth, the situation was just as tense. Dr. Nicole Adams had made another disturbing discovery while studying alien biology. Their entire civilization is built on abundance, she explained to the Emergency Council. They share resources freely because they evolved on worlds where there was always enough for everyone. General Miller leaned forward. What does that mean for us? It means they have no natural defenses against competitive species, Nicole said. They've never had to fight for survival. They don't understand scarcity or conflict. Dr. Rodriguez added more bad news. It gets worse. They see our competitive nature as a disease. To them, wanting to win or be the best is a mental illness. The human leaders sat in stunned silence. They were trying to make friends with beings who thought human nature itself was sick and wrong. Meanwhile, Captain Martinez was still working with the Zephyrian scientist Quindel. Their joint research was revealing how different the two species really were. On your worlds, Tony asked, what happens when resources get low? Quindel looked confused. Resources don't get low. There is always enough. But what if there wasn't? Tony pressed. What if food became scarce? Then we would share what we have, Quindel said simply. Everyone would eat less, so no one would starve. Tony tried to imagine that. What if sharing wasn't enough? What if there really wasn't enough? For everyone? Quindel's large eyes went wide with horror. That could never happen. We would find another way. But what if you couldn't? Tony asked. Quindel began to shake. I cannot think about such things. It is too terrible. Tony realized the problem. The aliens literally could not imagine scarcity-based competition. Their minds rejected the concept as impossible. Dr. Adams was making similar discoveries in her lab. She had been analyzing the brain scans that the aliens had shared. The differences were striking. Look at this, she told her team. She pointed to images of Zephyrian brains. They have overdeveloped areas for cooperation and sharing. But the parts of the brain that handle competition and aggression are tiny. Her assistant studied the scans. It's like evolution removed there. Ability to be aggressive. Exactly, Nicole said. And look at human brains in comparison. The human brain scans showed the opposite pattern. large areas devoted to competition, strategy, and aggression. Smaller areas for unconditional cooperation. We're evolutionary opposites, Nicole realized. They evolved to share everything. We evolved to compete for everything. This news reached the Zephyrian fleet and made things even worse. When Morthic learned about human brain structure, she called another emergency meeting. They can't help being aggressive, she told the other officers. It's built into their brains. They will always want to compete and conquer. Commander Velmuth felt hopeless. Is there any way to coexist with them? I don't see how, Morthic said. Their nature and our nature are completely incompatible. But not everyone agreed. On one of the smaller Zephyrian ships, a young officer named Kivara was studying human culture from a different angle. She had been watching human families. She saw parents caring for children. She saw humans helping each other during emergencies. She saw acts of kindness and sacrifice. Commander, she reported to her ship's captain, I think we may be misunderstanding something. What do you mean? The captain asked. The humans show predatory behavior. Yes, Kivara said. But they also show protective behavior. They use their aggression to defend things they care about. Her captain looked skeptical. You think their predatory nature can be directed? Maybe, Kivara said. I've been studying their military. They don't just fight for conquest. They also fight to protect their families and their homes. This was a new idea. Could predator instincts be used for protection instead of just hunting? Back on Earth, Lieutenant Commander Steve Parker was researching the same question from the human side. He had been studying how human aggression evolved. Sir, he reported to Admiral Clark, our predatory instincts served multiple purposes. Yes, we hunted prey, but we also defended our territory and protected our young. Clark was interested. Go on. Humans who were good fighters survived better, Steve explained. Not just because they could hunt, but because they could defend their families from other predators. This gave Clark an idea. So our aggressive nature isn't just about attacking. It's also about protecting. Exactly, sir. Some of humanity's most aggressive behavior happens when we're defending something we care about. Clark thought about this. Maybe there was a way to show the aliens that human predatory nature could be protective instead of threatening. Meanwhile, Dr. Chun was working on a comprehensive report about human evolution for the aliens. He was trying to explain how competition could lead to cooperation. Humans learned to work together because it made them better hunters, he wrote. Groups of humans could take down larger prey than individual humans could. But he realized this might not help. The aliens would just see it as humans becoming more efficient killers. He tried a different approach. Humans also learned to cooperate to defend against other predators. Working together kept their children safe. This was closer to something the aliens might understand. Protection was a concept they could relate to Dot as the days passed. Both sides were learning that their first impressions might be wrong. The aliens were discovering that human aggression could be protective. The humans were discovering that alien fear might be overcome, but there were also groups on both sides that wanted conflict. On some Zephyrian ships, officers were arguing for preemptive strikes against Earth. We should attack them before they attack us, they said. On some human ships, officers were getting tired of being seen as monsters. If they want to treat us like predators, some said, maybe we should act like predators. The situation was becoming dangerous. Fear and misunderstanding were building on both sides. It would only take one mistake to start a war. Commander Velmuth knew this. He sent a message to the human fleet. We need to find a solution soon. My people are becoming very afraid. Afraid beings sometimes do foolish things. Admiral Clark understood the warning. He replied, our people are also getting frustrated. Being called monsters is making some of them angry. Angry humans can be very dangerous. Both leaders knew they were running out of time. They needed to find a way for predators and prey to coexist before fear turned into violence. The answer would come from an unexpected source. Young Pivara on the Zephyrian ship was about to make a discovery that would change everything. News of the failed meeting spread through both fleets like wildfire. Captain Miranda Stone received the report while commanding the cruiser Defiance. She read it twice before believing it. "They think we're monsters," she told her crew. "There, moving their ships into defensive positions." Her weapons officer looked worried. "Are we going to fight them, Captain?" "I hope not," Miranda said, "but be ready for anything." On the Zephyrian flagship, Commander Velmeth was dealing with panic. Officers from 12 different species were all talking at once. Some wanted to run away immediately. Others wanted to call for help from their military. "Quiet!" Velmeth shouted. The room fell silent. "We need to think clearly." Elder Council Member Zarnith stood up slowly. She was very old and had lived through many crises. "Commander, in my 300 years, I have never heard of intelligent predators. This changes everything." Velmeth nodded grimly. "What do we do?" "We study them," said Zarnith. "We learn what they want. And we prepare for the worst." Back on Earth, Dr. Alex Chun was working frantically in his laboratory. The Global Biology Institute had given him one job: explain humans to the aliens. But how do you explain millions of years of evolution to beings who had never seen a predator? "They don't understand competition," he told his assistant. "Their species evolved by sharing resources and avoiding conflict. Humans evolved by competing for resources and winning conflicts." Alex pulled up charts showing human evolution. From early apes to modern humans, the story was clear. Humans had survived by being smarter, stronger, and more aggressive than everything else on their planet. "Look at this," he said, pointing to skull reconstructions. "Forward-facing eyes for hunting. Strong jaws with sharp teeth for eating meat. Large brains for planning and strategy. We're built to be predators." His assistant studied the images. "How do we explain this without scaring them more?" "I don't think we can," Alex said sadly. Meanwhile, General Frank Miller was meeting with Dr. Rachel Kim at the Pentagon. Frank was Earth's top military officer. Rachel was a specialist in alien psychology. "They're terrified," Rachel explained. "Imagine if you discovered that sharks had built spaceships and wanted to be friends." Frank understood immediately. "They think we're going to eat them." "Worse," Rachel said. "They think we're going to conquer them." In their experience, predators take what they want by force. Frank looked at the tactical reports. The alien ships were forming a defensive circle. Their weapons were powering up. They were preparing for war. "Can we convince them we're peaceful?" he asked. "Maybe," Rachel said, "but it won't be easy. Everything about us screams danger to them." On the alien ships, the panic was getting worse. Morthic had been studying human entertainment and culture for days. What she found made her sick with fear. She called Commander Velmoth to her laboratory. "You need to see this," she said. She showed him human war movies. Soldiers fighting with incredible skill and determination. Humans using tactics and strategy to defeat larger enemies. Humans never giving up, even when facing death. "They glorify combat," she said. "They make entertainment about war and conflict." Then she showed him human sports. Boxing matches where humans hit each other for fun. Football games where they crashed into each other at high speed. Racing competitions where they risked their lives for victory. "They compete for pleasure," Morthic said. "They enjoy conflict." Velmoth watched in horror. His people had never understood competition. When resources were limited, they shared. When conflicts arose, they talked. The idea of enjoying a fight was completely alien to them. "There's more," Morthic said. She showed him human hunting videos. People tracking and killing animals for sport. Humans who spent their free time learning to use weapons. Humans who collected guns and knives as hobbies. "They don't just hunt for food," she said. "They hunt because they like it." Velma felt dizzy. These humans were everything his people feared in their worst nightmares. Intelligent predators who enjoyed violence and competition. "What about their military?" he asked. Morthic's voice was barely a whisper. "They've been fighting wars for their entire history. They've turned killing into an art form." She showed him images of human weapons. Guns that could kill from miles away. Bombs that could destroy entire cities. Warships built only for fighting. "They've never stopped being predators," she said. "They just became better at it." Back on Earth, Captain Tony Martinez was leading a different kind of mission. He was working with a Zephyrian scientist named Quindel to study the differences between their species. "We need to understand each other," Tony explained through a translator. "Fear will only make things worse." Quindel was brave for a Zephyrian. He had volunteered to work with the humans despite his terror. But every time Tony moved suddenly or looked directly at him, Quindel flinched. "Your species," Quindel said carefully. "You said you hunt for pleasure?" Tony nodded. "Some humans do. It's a tradition that goes back thousands of years." "But why?" Quindel asked. "Don't you feel bad for the animals you kill?" Tony thought about how to explain. "Some humans do feel bad. Others see it as natural. We're predators by nature. Hunting is part of who we are." Quindel made a sound like a frightened bird. "You kill because it's natural?" "We also create art because it's natural," Tony said quickly. "We build beautiful buildings and write music and help each other. Being predators doesn't make us evil." But Quindel was shaking. "Your entire species is built for killing." Dr. Nicole Adams was making a different discovery in her research lab. She had been studying the biological data that the Zephyrians shared. What she found was shocking. "They have no predators," she told her team. "Not one species in their entire confederation. Evolved from hunters." Her assistant looked at the data. "How is that possible?" "Their part of the galaxy must be different from ours," Nicole said. "Maybe resources were more abundant. Maybe the planets were less hostile. For whatever reason, only prey species developed intelligence there." This meant the Zephyrians had never encountered predatory intelligence before. They had no experience dealing with species that competed and fought and conquered. "To them, we're like nothing they've ever imagined," Nicole said. "We're their worst. Nightmare come to life." Meanwhile, Lieutenant Commander Steve Parker was studying historical data from the alien databases. He found something that made everything worse. "Sir," he reported to Admiral Clark, "I found records of other predator species in their territory. What happened to them?" Clark asked. "They never made it to space," Steve said. "According to alien records, predator species either destroyed themselves through war or stayed primitive forever." Clark felt a chill. What does that tell us? It tells us that humans are the first predator species they've encountered that didn't self-destruct. We're the first hunters to become spacefaring. This was the final piece that terrified the aliens. Humans had done something that no other predator species had ever managed. They had learned to cooperate enough to reach the stars while keeping their killer instincts. As reports flowed back to the Zephyrian homeworlds, panic spread across dozens of planets. Emergency sessions were called. Military fleets were activated. The aliens were facing a crisis that challenged everything they believed about life in the universe. They had discovered that intelligence could evolve in predators. And those predators had spaceships. On Earth, Dr. Rodriguez watched the alien ships pulling back to a safer distance. She knew what was happening. The aliens were preparing for war. There, going to attack us, she told her staff. They think it's the only way to protect themselves. The irony was terrible. Humans had reached out in peace. They wanted to be friends with these gentle aliens. But their very nature has predators made. Friendship seemed impossible. The galaxy was about to discover what happened when apex predators were forced to defend themselves. The Zephyrian fleet arrived at Earth 3 days later. Their ships moved slowly and carefully. They sent peaceful messages every few hours. Commander Velmoth wanted to make sure the humans knew they were friends. Admiral Ben Clark watched from the defense station called Sentinel. It orbited high above Earth. His job was to protect the planet from threats. But these aliens did not seem threatening. They seemed confused. "Sir," said his communication officer, "they keep calling us the hunted ones. They think we need saving." Ben rubbed his forehead. He had read Dr. Rodriguez's report. The aliens thought humans were prey animals. They thought something was hunting humans on Earth. What should we tell them? The officer asked. "The truth, I guess," Ben said. "But go slow. This might shock them." On the lead Zephyrian ship, Morthic was studying human television signals. Her job was to learn about new species. She watched human movies and shows to understand their culture. What she saw made no sense. The humans in their entertainment were always fighting. They used weapons and strategy. They hunted other animals for food and sport. They even fought each other in wars. "Commander," she said to Velmoth, "I think we made a mistake." Velmoth looked up from his reports. "What kind of mistake?" "Look at this." Morthic showed him clips from human movies. Soldiers with guns, hunters tracking deer, boxers fighting in rings. These are not prey behaviors. Velmoth watched the images. His long neck trembled slightly. In one movie, a human was hunting a large bear. In another, humans were fighting aliens with advanced weapons. In a third, humans were competing to see who was the strongest fighter. "Maybe these are just stories," he said. "Maybe they dream about being predators because they are so afraid." But Morthic had been studying for days. "Commander, look at their eyes." She showed him close-up images of human faces. The eyes faced forward. Both eyes looked in the same direction. This was not how prey animals were built. Velmoth felt something cold in his stomach. All prey animals had eyes on the sides of their heads. This helped them watch for danger from all directions. Predators had forward-facing eyes. This helped them focus on what they were hunting. "Get me the biology team," he said quietly. Meanwhile, the first human ship was getting ready to meet the aliens. Colonel Rick Hayes led a team of Marines for security. They were trained soldiers, but their job today was to protect the diplomats. Dr. Sam Turner was the human ambassador. He was chosen because he was calm and smart. He had studied the alien messages and knew they thought humans were prey animals. "Remember," he told his team, "they are scared of predators. Try to look friendly and harmless." Lieutenant Kelly Brooks nodded. She was young and had never met an alien before. "How do we look harmless, sir?" "Smile, but not too much," Sam said. "Move slowly. Don't stare directly at them." Rick Hayes listened to this advice and felt strange. He had spent his whole career learning to look dangerous. Now he had to learn to look safe. The human ship docked with the alien vessel. The airlocks connected with a soft hiss. Sam Turner took a deep breath and stepped through. The moment he entered the alien ship, everything went wrong. The Zephyrian greeting party saw the humans and froze. Velmoth was there with 6 other officers. They all stopped moving at the same time. Sam smiled and raised his hand in greeting. "Hello, we come in peace." But the aliens were not looking at his hand. They were looking at his eyes. Human eyes were brown and focused straight ahead. They looked directly at whoever was speaking. To the Zephyrians, this was the gaze of a hunter choosing its target. Velmuth felt every instinct in his body screaming at him to run. These humans moved with quiet confidence. They walked upright with no fear. Their eyes tracked everything in the room. "Welcome," Velmuth managed to say. His voice shook slightly. Dr. Turner noticed the alien's fear, but did not understand it. "Thank you for your message. We appreciate your offer of help, but we're not sure what you think is hunting us." "What is hunting you?" Velmuth asked. "We came to save you from the predators on your world." Sam looked confused. "There are no predators hunting us. We're at the top of our food chain." The words hit the aliens like a physical blow. Morthic made a sound like a frightened bird. Another alien took a step backward. "Top of the food chain?" Velmuth repeated slowly. "Yes," Sam said. "Humans are the dominant species on Earth. We don't have any natural predators." Kelly Brooks watched the aliens' reaction. They were breathing faster. Their large eyes were wide with fear. Some of them were backing toward the exits. "Sir," she whispered to Colonel Hayes, "I think we're scaring them." Rick Hayes looked at the aliens and understood. He had seen that look before. It was the look prey animals got when they realized they were trapped with a predator. "Dr. Turner," he said. "Quietly, we need to be very careful here." But Sam was still trying to be friendly. "If you're worried about dangerous animals on Earth, don't be. Humans have been the dominant predator for thousands of years. We hunted most of the large, dangerous animals to extinction." The word predator hit the aliens like electricity. Morthic made a high-pitched noise and ran from the room. 2 other aliens followed her. Velmuth stared at the humans. His worst fear was coming true. These were not prey animals seeking help. These were apex predators. Intelligent apex predators. "You hunt?" he asked in a small voice. "Well, not much anymore," Sam said, trying to be helpful. "Most humans buy their food now, but some still hunt for sport. And of course, humans have always been very good at warfare." Each word made things worse. The remaining aliens moved closer together. They were forming a protective group, the way prey animals did when predators were near. Kelly Brooks finally understood what was happening. "Dr. Turner," she said urgently, "stop talking about hunting." But it was too late. Commander Velmuth was looking at the humans with new eyes. He saw their confident posture. He saw how they scanned the room for threats and exits. He saw how they moved like they owned the space they were in. These were not the scared prey animals his scouts had described. These were hunters. Intelligent, spacefaring hunters. "We made a terrible mistake," Velmuth whispered back on Earth. Dr. Rodriguez was watching the meeting through video feeds. She could see the aliens' fear growing with each word. "Cut the connection," she told her team. "Get our people out of there now." On the alien ship, the meeting was falling apart. More aliens had left the room. The ones who remained looked ready to run or fight. "Perhaps we should continue this conversation later," Dr. Turner said. He was finally starting to understand that something was very wrong. "Yes," Velmuth said quickly. "Later." As the humans left, Velmuth called an emergency meeting. Every senior officer on every ship had to attend. "We are not dealing with a prey species," he announced. "We have made first contact with a civilization of predators." The room erupted in frightened voices. Some officers demanded they leave immediately. Others wanted to call for military support. "They have spaceships," one officer said. "Intelligent predators with spaceships. How many worlds have they conquered?" Asked another. Velmuth raised his hand for silence. "We don't know yet, but we must assume they are dangerous. Very dangerous." On the human ship, Colonel Hayes was trying to calm his team. "They're terrified of us," Kelly said. Why? Because they're prey animals, Rick explained, and we're predators. Every instinct they have is telling them we're going to hurt them. Doctor, Turner felt sick. I told them we were dominant predators. I told them we hunted things to extinction. You told them the truth, Rick said, but they weren't ready for it. As the human ship moved away from the alien fleet, both sides were trying to figure out what to do next. The aliens were faced with something they had never imagined, an intelligent predator species that had reached the stars. The humans were trying to make friends with beings who saw them as monsters. Neither side knew that this was just the beginning of their problems. Cathara looked at the data on her screen for the third time. The numbers did not change. The planet called Earth was strange. Very strange. She was a senior analyst for the Zephyrian Confederation. Her job was to study new worlds and the life forms on them. For 20 years, she had looked at hundreds of planets. Most had no life. Some had simple animals. Very few had smart beings. Earth was different. The planet had one main species that seemed to control everything. They called themselves humans. From far away, the Zephyrian scouts had watched them for months. The humans lived in big groups. They built tall structures. They grew food in neat rows. They moved around in metal vehicles. Cathara touched her long neck with one of her 4 arms. Her people, the Zephyrians, were tall and thin. They ate plants and moved in herds for safety. All the smart species in their confederation were the same. They were prey animals that had learned to think and build, but these humans were confusing. They live in groups like prey animals, she said to her assistant, Morthic. But something feels wrong. Morthic looked at the images from their spy drones. The pictures showed human cities with millions of beings packed together. Maybe they are running from something, she said. Maybe there is a bigger predator on their world. Cathara nodded slowly. That made sense. The humans acted like frightened animals staying close together. Their cities looked like herds bunched up for protection. Far away on Earth, Captain Jake Morrison was having a boring day. He was flying his ship, the Pioneer, around Jupiter looking for metals to mine. His crew had been out here for 2 weeks. They had found nothing interesting. Captain, said Lisa Grant from her seat at the navigation controls. I'm getting some weird readings near Io. Jake looked up from his coffee. What kind of weird? Energy patterns, not natural. Someone built something out there. Pete Collins, their engineer, turned around in his chair. Could be space junk from the old missions. No, Lisa said, shaking her head. This is active. It's powered and moving. Jake felt his heart beat faster. In 30 years of space travel, he had never found anything that humans did not build. Take us closer, slowly. The Pioneer moved toward the strange signals. As they got closer, their instruments picked up more data. There were 3 objects hiding behind I. They were made of materials that did not exist on Earth. Holy cow, Pete whispered. Those are alien ships. Jake stared at the screen. The ships were beautiful. They looked like they were grown instead of built. Their surfaces were smooth and curved. It gave off a soft blue light. Are they scanning us? Jake asked. Yes, Lisa said. They know we're here. On the lead alien ship, Commander Valmuth received the report about the human vessel. He was old, even for his long-lived species. His gray skin had dark spots that showed his age. His large eyes could see many colors that humans could not. A small craft has found our observation post, his officer reported. It contains 3 of the local beings. Valmuth thought carefully. The Confederation had rules about first contact. They never approached a new species too quickly. But these humans seemed different from other primitive beings they had met. What do our studies tell us about their nature? He asked. They appear to be a prey species, Commander. They live in large groups for protection. They grow their food. Instead of hunting, they seem peaceful. Velmuth looked at the images of human cities. The beings moved together like his own people did. They built safe spaces and worked together. They had to be prey animals. They may be in danger, he said. Their world has many large predators. Maybe they need our help. Back on Earth, Dr. Amy Rodriguez was working late in her lab on Luna Station. She studied alien life, even though no one had ever found any. When the message came in from the Pioneer, she almost fell out of her chair. Jake found what? She asked the communication officer. 3 alien ships, Doctor. They've been watching us. Amy's mind raced. This was the moment every scientist dreamed of. First contact with another intelligent species. But something worried her. Have they tried to communicate? She asked. Not yet. They're just watching. Amy pulled up everything she knew about animal behavior. When prey animals watched from hiding, they were usually afraid. When predators watched from hiding, they were usually hunting. We need to be very careful, she told the officer. We don't know what they want. On the Zephyrian ship, Velmuth made his decision. These humans looked like peaceful plant eaters. They were probably scared and needed protection. His people had a duty to help. Other prey species. Prepare a message, he ordered. Tell them we come in peace. Tell them we want to help them. Help them with what, Commander? Asked his communication officer. Whatever is hunting them, Velmuth said. No prey species builds cities that big unless something is chasing them. The alien message reached Earth 6 hours later. It was sent in simple mathematical patterns that smart beings could understand. But the words, when translated, confused everyone. Greetings, hunted ones, the message said. We are the Zephyrian Confederation. We see you are prey like us. We come to offer safety. Do not fear. We will protect you from the predators on your world. Dr. Rodriguez read the message 3 times. Each time she felt more worried. They think we're prey animals, she said to her team. They think something is hunting us. Should we correct them? Asked her assistant. Amy looked out the window at Earth below. She could see the lights of 1 billion humans going about there. Daily lives. Humans who had climbed to the top of their food chain millions of years ago. Humans who had no natural predators except other humans. I don't think they would understand, she said quietly. I don't think their minds can handle the truth about what we really are. The alien fleet was already moving toward Earth. They came not as conquerors, but as rescuers. They had no idea they were flying toward a world ruled by the most successful. Predators in their part of the galaxy. Jake Morrison watched the alien ships grow larger on his screen. They were beautiful and peaceful looking. But something deep in his mind, something very old and primitive, recognized what he was seeing. These aliens moved like prey animals. They traveled in tight groups. They approached carefully. They broadcast. Their intentions clearly. Jake had hunted deer as a boy. He knew how prey animals acted. The question was, did they know how predators acted?